Hey everybody, these tape tips were originally recorded for YouTube, so occasionally an episode may have a few moments that are better suited for watching rather than just listening. The link to the YouTube video is in the show notes, and if you're on Spotify, you can choose to watch the video right there. Thanks. The truth is, we all want to climb harder, and we all want to climb more hard things. I recently finished my 100th 513 sport climb, and I wrote a book about the lessons I learned along the way. And as I was writing the book, it became clear that there's one single skill that trumps all others when it comes to being able to climb 513, whether it's your first or your 50th, a rope stretching Red River pump vest, or a wild iris pocket pulling boulder on a rope. It's not better footwork, it's not a stronger pull-up, and it's not more finger strength. Those things can and often do play a big part, but if you don't have this one skill dialed in, those things may be rendered nearly useless. In this video, we're going to discuss that skill, as well as how you can make sure that you've got what it takes. Let's get into it. Now, the book that I just released about the experience of climbing 100 513s, the decisions it required, the life changes that could have derailed it, and more, is called Adapt for a reason. It's because I truly believe that being adaptable is the most important skill any climber can have. And of course, there are a lot of other skills that come together in order for us to climb any grade. And if it's a grade that's challenging for you, then getting all of those skills leveled up to the threshold needed for that grade, it's not going to be easy. And it's worth saying here that climbing is always a game of compensation. There's rarely only one way to do any move. And even on the rare occasion that there really is one set of beta, different climbers are going to bring different levels of strength, power, tenacity, belief, etc., and they can often make up for a lack of one of these skills by compensating with another. For instance, let's say the perceived thresholds for climbing some specific 513 look something like this. You feel like the route is going to require this level of finger strength, this level of power, this level of movement mastery, and this level of belief. It might be true that you need those levels, but some other climber might send with these stats, or these stats, or these. There are nearly always opportunities for compensating with some other skill or attribute. And that's part of what makes climbing so incredible and so hard to objectively quantify. That's a whole other rabbit hole that we're not going down in this video. It might need to be its own thing. Instead, what I want to do here is take a close look at the adaptability skill that I believe to be the most important for climbing 513, your first or your 100th. Let me start by asking you this. If you're a 5'11 or 5'12 climber who hopes to reach 513, or even if you've done a couple of 513s and are training to get more done, and be honest with this answer, how often do you give up because it feels uncomfortable? Either because you're pumped, because it feels too hard, you've made too many mistakes, or you've just decided that you don't have it this time. How often do you say take or take a fall when you know that you actually just let go while half-heartedly trying? Now, a lot of you just answered, me? Never. But you're lying to yourself. I've literally never seen a 512 climber who doesn't do this and do it regularly. Very often, the thing separating the 512 climber from the 513 climber is the understanding that they can continue, the confidence that they can adapt to whatever's coming, whether it's unknown moves on an onsite or a red point that's falling apart. The climber who keeps going has a chance no matter how small, but the climber who doesn't know that they can keep going and lets go, they have zero chance. There's an old Adam Ondra video, and he's talking about a flash attempt on Gecko Assists, a V14 in Fontainebleau, and he says this.
It was the last day. I didn't feel really fresh, but as I got under the boulder and I saw it, I knew exactly that it's pretty much my style and that there could be some chance to flash it. I was thinking that there is maybe 5% probability that I could do it.
But still, he pulls on and climbs as if he has 100% chance of sending, and so he flashes the boulder. And I also had a conversation with legend Bill Ramsey on my Power Company Climbing podcast. In his mid-50s, he was trying to send Golden, a 14B, who's having some hip issues that ultimately needed a hip replacement, and he said this.
The day I did it, I mean, if you'd asked me, do you think you're going to do it today? I'm like, no, I would say I've got maybe a 5% chance. Even when you don't feel like you can do something, you can have a pretty good day if you feel good about your effort.
A 5% chance, same as Adam. And same as Adam, he pulled on, kept going as if he had 100% chance, and he sent. Now let me ask you this. How low does that probability need to drop before you let go? I've seen some of you drop off while it looks like you've still got a 90% chance. And a lot of people drop at 75, and the field is really slim by 50%. Those who are still left at 5%, the ones who can keep going when it doesn't seem realistic, they're the ones sending more often. They have the best chance of becoming better climbers. More often than not, they all have one aspect of their preparation in common. They've put themselves in that position over and over and over at every grade and every step of their climbing journey. And they have an intimate understanding that they don't actually know where their limit is. They don't know when they might make it and when they might fall off. They've surprised themselves enough times to know better than to predict success or failure. If it's a red point attempt, there is no take. There is no just let go, no matter how uncomfortable it gets or unlikely it seems. They know that they're adaptable enough to handle what's coming. A 5% chance is enough to climb like there's 100% chance. And this doesn't only apply to the en route scenarios. Better climbers also have a deeper understanding that they can continue in their process, even in the face of setbacks. See, many 512 climbers will bail on a potential project if they don't do all of the moves on the first or second try. Better climbers understand that a move can go from feeling impossible to being dialed just by finding some subtle body position shift. So they're more likely to continue as if they know they're going to get it done. Now, if you are or you know somebody who cops out sometimes and lets go or says take or switches to a new project every time there's a setback, there's good news. Once you start to lean into learning this skill, it becomes a lot of fun and you'll do more rock climbs. Now, in the back of my book, Adapt, we put a table that shows the number of unique red points I did each year. And you can see that the same year I did my first 513, I also did 62 512s and 85 511s. The next year I did 9 13As and 2 13Bs, and my 512 count only dropped by 1 to 61. And keep in mind, this is in my mid-30s as a dad to a 10-year-old who worked a 50-plus hour a week job as a mural painter. I was strictly a weekend warrior who was averaging fewer than 45 days a year outside. The key is that I was trying to get routes done fast, either on-site or within a couple of goes, oftentimes before I had the moves dialed in. So a lot of those ascents were scrappy, some by the skin of my teeth. But I got better at adapting to a lot of different scenarios, not only a variety of terrain and styles, but also varying levels of fatigue and pump and mistakes and being mentally drained. And occasionally I'd be surprised by some strange crux on a grade I knew I could do, and I'd stick with it because my track record let me know that I could sort it out. And because of that, even though I didn't do all of the moves on my first time up the route, I did my first 513 in only 5 tries. By the next season, I did a couple of 13As on my second try because I had gotten really good at being adaptable and understanding that I could continue. Now, I'm not saying that you can't climb 513 if you don't do some huge volume of 511 and 512 first. It's entirely possible that if you meet the threshold for enough attributes, you can then compensate with repeated attempts and send. Going that route usually means you're going to have to take that same path and number of attempts for the next of the grade as well. But if you put that time in on the front end, putting yourself into a wider variety of challenges, the better you're going to get at adapting. And when you do come up short on some specific threshold, the easier it's going to be to pull up some other attribute that you can then compensate with. That means you're likely to send faster, which means you can do more of that grade in a shorter period of time, which means you'll improve your adaptation skills at that higher level. It becomes this self-perpetuating positive feedback loop that can get you far closer to the upper limits of your potential than simply always mega projecting the next grade. And again, I'm not saying there's something wrong with mega projecting. As you get closer to the upper limit, it's something you're going to have to do. I really enjoy it, frankly. But my advice is just don't jump into it too early in your climbing career. Give yourself a chance to become more adaptable first. And even though that feels like the long way around, you'll find that it's a shortcut. And I write about those shortcuts and adapt as well with a 13C first ascent that I completed with the deadline for my goal rapidly approaching. You can find the link to the book in the description. Thanks for watching or listening. In the show notes, you'll find related links, videos, and episodes, as well as how you can subscribe to our monthly newsletter, The Current, where we connect the dots to help climbers learn, grow, and excel.